The future is here. An innovation that will change the way the industry works. A Hot 100 chart, updated daily. The most accurate price guide on the market. Every card has its own profile with a wealth of information. Know the precise, real-time value of any card in the system. On demand. You now have the power to unlock the secrets of the hobby. The game changer is here. Card Ladder.
Dude, Instagram app was like busted. It took away like my features to go live. I had to uninstall the app and reinstall. Freaking crazy. Instagram can't hold me down. Jeez.
What's up, man? I ripped the pack on air. My first live break ever.
Sorry about that. I don't know what the heck, man. I went to like go into the app and I didn't have any of my options I usually have.
What do you think happened? Did they do like a weird update or something?
Yeah, maybe I got stuck in like no man's land, and then I just like uninstalled the app and reinstalled, and it was all back to the way it was like a month ago.
See, that's that technological savvy.
And I'm like, I'm not an idiot. I know how apps work. It's just not here.
Look,
I
so
swear.
me and Christina went a little crazy today, by the way, and we bought some Prism football.
Oh, I bet you guys did. How did it go?
Well, you're looking at it. We've been through 3 packs now, and we have like
Justin
a box,
Jefferson.
2 box and a half left. Yeah, and you know what? Let me say this too about the cards. The cards look nice, and I think Basketball Prism this year is going to be sick. They're really cool looking cards. The camo might be one of the nicest years of camo I've seen. So we already got a Josh Jacobs camo. These are out of 25. These are sick. And the orange.
Nice.
The orange is crispy as well. So
Very nice.
I'm sorry, you were about to say something, buddy.
No, I'll show these Instagram guys how to make it up here pretty soon.
Yeah, dude, they could definitely use some help. I couldn't figure out how to go live either. Dude, shout out to Goats and Grails. Thank you guys. Yeah, it sucks, but we're here, all right? We are on. Yeah, the snakeskin prism's pretty nice. Okay, let's get going because we're a little bit late and we had probably the most questions we've ever gotten before in a week.
Jeez.
So, welcome to the crossover. It is December 4th, 2020. And Putnam Cards gets question asker of the week. I don't know. I can't think of a better term than that. Question asker of the week award goes to Putnam. He sent in 4 questions that I'm going to hopefully get to tonight. But the first one is a topic idea. He said literally anything besides Trae Young. Literally anything. So I don't know if we're going to be able to manage that or not, but here goes. His next question is, what is a better buy right now? I love this question. I love to start off this question because it's something that I'm thinking about a little bit. as I try to navigate a multi-sport terrain. He says, what's the better buy right now, basketball or football right now? What do you think?
The better buy. Man, I feel like football is way down. Football is down pretty hardcore. Now's kind of the time to buy football. And basketball, it's about to really peak here pretty soon.
It is. That's what the Zag is all about. Zagging is not as fun, right? Because the energy has kind of left the air has been deflated out of the football balloon a little bit right now, because we have a pretty runaway favorite MVP right now. The rookies have sort of established their hierarchy. We kind of have an idea of who the dominant teams are. Yeah, some surprising things can happen, but a lot of the expectations and the speculation are just, they're no longer there. They're no longer there. So in the football market has adapted. Could there be breakouts? Yeah, but things have kind of settled in. So right now actually is that great opportunity, it would seem, to look into football while everyone else is starting to look at the next shiny new object. Which is a little bit ironic to talk about, because like the hottest product of the last few months just came out today, which is Prism Football. But people are loving it for the product itself. The player hierarchy seems to be kind of established. So football does seem to be the better buy right now. Is that a fair observation?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, the rookie silvers out of the Prism that you guys opened are way overpriced, obviously, because it's new. But pretty much everything else is way, way down. And it's a good time to zag for sure on football. If you like football and you're collecting it, now's a good time to buy. Everyone just like you said, the speculation's over. So you might have to hold for a while, obviously, going into next year and stuff. But it could be a fun opportunity.
Yeah, it really could. It really could. I had thoughts about Mahomes lately, about trying to add a nice Mahomes card. I've been convinced. I've been convinced that he is a really special player. He's a terrific player. I was chatting with Wharf Sports Cards earlier this week, and he was showing me that in terms of sheer transaction volume, Patrick Mahomes sold more individual cards on eBay over the last year than Luka did.
Yeah.
And that was shocking, because it, defies the conventional wisdom that basketball is just, head and shoulders above football in terms of what people are buying, especially when it comes to singles. But Mahomes is sort of he's bucking the trend a little bit. And although if you look at the total amount of transactions, as an absolute dollar amount, Luka was at 60 million for the last year, and Mahomes was at 45 million. And this data is coming from Terapeak. It's really, basically the methodology was just type in Patrick Mahomes and see how many transactions happened and how much money over the last 365 days. Do the same for Luka. Then we did the same for LeBron, and he was at 90 million. So neither Luka, if you put Luka and Mahomes together, then you're getting to LeBron levels. But nonetheless, I don't know. Mahomes' inevitability is starting to sink in on me, and I'm thinking about Mahomes right now. I think I would like a nice piece of his as we diversify our collection, Christina, and we add hockey and everything else. I don't know. Just some thoughts.
The thought I had on Mahomes was the super high end rookie stuff is kind of out of reach for most of us at this point. It's probably too late. The RPA 99s, 9.5s, and the contenders, cracked ice, and that kind of stuff is probably out of reach.
Definitely out of reach.
But now that we know he's establishing himself as one of the, definitely the best player in the league right now, you could do what we kind of preach with LeBron, which is get a little bit more, and Jordan as well, get a little bit more creative and trying to find second year cards, looking to select Kaboom, look for different parallels and stuff that are more interesting, some more rare things that aren't rookies, optic, there's a whole bunch of different avenues you can go. And I started to do that this past summer with Mahomes, get some second year gold stuff. It was a lot of fun. But you might have to get even more creative now.
Yeah.
Second year Kaboom PSA 10s $3,000. So some of that stuff is already getting pretty high. So it's tough, like you want to collect guys like Mahomes and LeBron because they're just way safer, but a lot of their stuff is already just so expensive. You kind of have to dig a little bit.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you definitely do. It's a big trade-off, but I don't know. The what's the better buy now question kind of does have me thinking like along those lines. If I were to, want to mess around with football, I mean, Mahomes he's a very collectible guy. I like him. I like his game, obviously. Who doesn't? He's in a great situation, great coach, great system. It looks like they're going to be inevitable as a perennial contender for a long time.
Man, these are cool. I really like these. I had a couple of these guys. I had the gold of this one, which is fun. But it's like I love field level so much. Like the rookie stuff is like photo shoots and he's standing there. This is like an in-game photo of his rookie year, and it's kind of cool. And he didn't even play that much his rookie year, so this is like probably preseason or something. But I love Select, man. I've been getting back into Select. It's so much fun. There's just like cooler photos, like more interesting thing. Dang, look at this gold Kaboom is predicted value of $5,000. Oh my god.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the green 1-of-1 Kaboom, and I'm pretty sure we have it. It set an all-time high not long ago. It did $8,000. So his Kabooms are coming up big time.
I mean, that kind of stuff is still, I don't want to call it cheap, but it's cheap compared to like the LeBron equivalent. And obviously because LeBron's been around much longer, more established, but it's still not quite nearly as expensive as LeBron. So like there's still some sort of entry level. It's just tough. It's still expensive.
Yeah, $3,000 on a Kaboom doesn't sound crazy to me. That doesn't sound crazy to me at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
37 for his contenders paper. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, 2017 Mahomes, you've got like the handful of premium products, your contenders, Select, Optic. I'm gonna throw Donruss in there just because his base PSA 10 Donruss rookies are like approaching $1,000 if I'm not mistaken. Prism, and then like there are these other like brands that you never hear of that I've kind of stumbled into collecting Christian McCaffrey, like Rookies and Stars, which it was a brand I wasn't very familiar with until him, and I picked up like all the McCaffrey 1-of-1s, and that's a cool product. Maybe that's a place to look at for Mahomes. Origins has beautiful cards, so I still think that like football has a lot of products yet to be discovered, and I think like as Mahomes keeps getting bigger and bigger in the hobby, more and more of those products will get discovered. We saw that happen in basketball. Everything from like 2018-19 is at least somewhat expensive, even the most seemingly irrelevant product in basketball. So like I could see 2017 football falling and say, yeah, that Prism Gold is a stunner.
Let's get to the PSA stuff.
A lot of questions on PSA. Let me give a hat tip to a couple people who wrote in about it. Black Griffin Cards, great page, by the way, worth checking out. It says Nat in PSA. Okay. CZ_card says, I'm sure it's already at the top of the list of topics, but would love to hear you guys think about Nat's buyout of PSA. We are going to touch on that right now, my friend. Genomic Sports Cards gives us a question. While you guys are discussing the CLCT deal, the Collectors Universe deal, I'm curious as to if you agree that it's going to spark off an acquisition binge in the space up and down the food chain, both by the group buying Collectors Universe and by other groups, and what effects will it have on the business. So there's a question to linger in the background as we sort of set the stage here, and we talk about it. So just a real brief background. An offer was made by a group of investors, including Nat, the legendary Nat S. Turner. And they have made an offer of $700 million to buy the outstanding shares of Collectors Universe. So that's kind of the technical background of it. I don't know too much more of the minutia. I don't really understand how that area of transactional deal making works on a nuts and bolts level. But it seems like by this time, 2 months from now, in early January, early February, Collectors Universe is going to be a private company that's going to be owned by this group of investors. So that's kind of the background of it. So why don't you jump in there, man, if you have any thoughts, and with genomic sports cards kind of question in mind is like, what's going to be some of the ripple effects of this? Are we going to start seeing institutional investors buying up a lot of different sort of entities in the sports card industry?
Yeah, so I'll start by saying I don't actually know like the financial technical details of how it's supposed to work, and I don't know like the implications of going from public to private. I'm just not like in the stock market world, so I don't really know. So I don't want to speak and just make stuff up, but so I'll just kind of speak to the potential acquisition. I think it's like one of the best things that's happened in the hobby in a long time. Like it's going to be awesome. I know Nat fairly well. He's exactly what you think he is. He's just a collector, right? He's a collector who's successful in his life and just has the money to kind of buy a lot of the cards that he's always loved and that a lot of us aspire to get. And having someone like that at the helm of PSA is a big deal. Honestly, it's huge. We've kind of had this like disconnect from some of these grading companies, and to kind of like feel like one of us is running it it's a huge like confidence boost to the hobby. Outside of like just him being able to hopefully make PSA better, I think it's just like a rallying cry for the whole hobby to get like some momentum behind that. Like the meaning of it might be more important than the technicalities of it. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's exciting.
Yeah,
and to be clear, it's not just like Nat by himself buying PSA. Like he's just sort of the face of it because we know him, but it is like an investment group.
Yeah, it is. Yes, very serious people. $700 million,
including the owner of the Mets.
Including the owner of the Mets. It's an unbelievable amount of money. And I like this as a callback to our episodes that we've been doing over the last few months. We've sort of talked about how, in the context of grading in particular, it would be terrific if somebody would look at the opportunity that exists in that space from the business standpoint, look into the future, and make a bet on us, and make a bet on this industry, make a bet on collectors, on sports cards, make a bet on the hobby that indicates their confidence in it and the sustainability of its growth. And investing $700 million to pay, 3x the stock price of what these stocks were trading for in Collectors Universe just earlier this year, to make that sort of investment, that sort of putting one's money where one's mouth is a terrific vote of confidence in the future of sports cards. There's two ways. There's many ways, but there's two ways that come to mind about how a person could immerse themselves in sports cards in a way that reflects that they see upside. One way is buying cards for the purpose of holding them, for collecting them, and with the expectation that their value is going to remain steady or go up. And that's how a lot of us do it, and a lot of people in this chat do it, and we love it. We just love being involved with cards. A different way to express confidence and appreciation for our industry, and to take advantage of our industry, to put it bluntly, is to get involved not in the buying and selling of cards, but to get involved in the industry side, to get involved in the commerce, in the provision of services. And grading is one of the most important services we provide. So to see very serious investors come in and pour $700 million into this thing is the vote of confidence that many of us have been waiting for. And I don't think its implications have like fully sunk in yet, just what it means going forward over the next however many years, that we have this serious level of institutional money that just vindicated the stock price that Collectors Universe was trading at. So to piggyback on your point there, that's what it means to me, is that some very serious, very successful people see a tremendous opportunity in the sports card industry.
And I'm reading that Steve Cohen is like one of the richest dudes like in the world, and he's putting serious money down, like you said. And yeah, it's more of like the meaning of what it is at this point, just because we don't know the technicalities of it. So to me, like the meaning of it, like you said, and like we've been talking about, it's just it's huge, right? It's a huge vote of confidence to all of us, and we all as a hobby need to be excited about it. And I've read a lot of stuff on Facebook about people saying he's doing it to like give himself better grades, and it's like, what the hell? Come on. Those are the type of people that just criticize every damn thing they've ever seen in their lives. Just like, this is great news. I don't understand how you can somehow twist this. Like, you're implying that like nobody currently at PSA collects cards in any manner whatsoever. They might have some like legal issues with selling and grading their own cards, but like we'll work out those details later. The initial news is kind of the reaction we want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when people get involved with a $700 million purchase of an entity, they obviously don't want to impact the credibility of that entity. And if Nat were to suddenly start grading, thousands of cards with PSA, and the grades are revealed to be unfairly biased in his favor, that would be devastating to the credibility of that grading company. Nat knows that. Everybody knows that. So I really don't think that people on that serious of a level would just take that risk. It just would be unfathomable. Not to mention that's from a practical standpoint, not to mention that it would be entirely unethical to, give a privileged service to yourself as the owner of that company. There's many easy ways to safeguard against it, such as either submitting blind or submitting through random third-party names so that nobody can trace those cards back to him, or just submitting to a different grading company. I've heard that offered as an option as well. But with that said, I think most people recognize the way the incentives line up there. The upside to Nat giving himself better grades is much smaller than the downside that would accrue if it were revealed that somehow he was getting favorable grades. So I can't imagine that possibly happening. But you're right, a lot of people have talked about it, and it is an ethical concern. You wouldn't, but I think Nat is an ethical guy, and B, it doesn't make sense from an incentive point of view either that he would do that. Okay, Card Shop Dad writes into the question. He says, "What do you think Nat and crew could do?" Nat and crew mean the investors, I assume. What do you think they could do to impact the grading experience? Do you want to speculate on that at all?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I mean, I've known Nat for a few years in the hobby, and I've seen his activity, and I would think that the upcharge service has bothered him enough where he's going to at least voice his opinion on it. So there may be some changes to the upcharge service, which a lot of people have been struggling with and frustrated with. The customer service, the turnaround times, these are things that like everyone's wanted to address. And I would assume that these guys are dropping this serious amount of money with like at least some upfront ideas of like, here's what the changes we could make. So I would, obviously speculate on some improvements there, customer service improvements. I don't want to speculate on the robo grading because that's just like, the ultimate sort of trump card for the whole hobby. And we'll see. Like, I don't have any like specifics. We're like, again, we're just sort of speculating and guessing that all the things that we don't like are going to get better. And the reason I bring up those speculations is like Nat has a lot of experience grading himself, so he knows just as well as anyone else things that are frustrating about grading companies. So he has a lot of empathy towards fixing it, whereas the seemingly corporate structure of the current setup doesn't really have the empathy of collectors that we would like, and so that's why there hasn't been maybe as much of a push on some of these changes that we'd like to see.
Yeah, that's a great point. And like you said, we are very lucky that the person spearheading this investment group visibly, as announced in the press releases, is Nat, and that he is a serious collector. I was looking at his Instagram the other day. The first line in his bio, if I'm not mistaken, that describes him on his Instagram is 90s basketball card collector, or it says something like mainly 90s basketball card collector. And I stepped back for a second. I said, this is pretty much as good as it gets for a guy like me, thinking about the most important grading entity and one of the most important brands in all of sports cards. Definitely now is coming under the influence of somebody who's. So here's what it says. Christina just gave me her phone. Passionate card collector, mainly 90s basketball, but also vintage baseball, unopened wax, Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. Nothing is for sale. I love that line too. This is just perfect. This is exactly the point of view. He's also in his early to mid 30s. This is just us, man. This is all of us. This is the point of view that I would love to see exert its influence on the directions that things can go with PSA and Collectors Universe, obviously, as an entity. But here's the flip side, just to make the point even more emphatic, because it's so timely. Dr. Beckett's podcast today came out. He was interviewing the person who replaced him as CEO of Beckett Media and Beckett Grading. And they were discussing how Beckett's and his various subsidiaries had been acquired multiple times over the last 15 years since Dr. Beckett left. And they were talking about how when one entity, one particular investor group took over Beckett and all Beckett's arms, they had a very specific approach. Their job was to maximize efficiency. And so they started firing people and restructuring things and top-down commands on like this, we need this bottom line to be met by this time and we need to do it this way. And these were people who didn't have experience necessarily in the sports card industry. And I feel that's our biggest fear, is that we have professionals come in and commandeer our institutions and sports cards, yep, and they don't have the collecting background. And yeah, we have a dream scenario where we have somebody with the financial means and with the collector wisdom and with the viewpoint that all of us share. So like, if ever we were going to have a great shot at seeing what we wanted to see, I feel like it's now.
Yeah. And I'd like to think that, you and I sort of spearheaded that front on the software side for Card Ladder. Like we wanted to build Card Ladder for everybody from the perspective of like a collector who has everyone else's best interest in mind, like giving them the proper data in order to make the best decisions and not just pumping top 5 shit over and over. And, right. And it's like with this whole like Nat thing, it's like, it feels like the collectors are taking the hobby back at the institutional, foundational, structural level, which is the most important part of all of this. And we can jump into the like, does this send off a domino of other purchases? Probably. Like this is sort of like the stake in the ground of like, yes, more serious people are coming into the hobby now, and they're going to start making sweeping improvements on some of these things that are outdated. And now that there's like serious money coming in, there's nothing stopping more of it from coming in. And, we're going to see other like smaller companies get bought up potentially and things, moved into a more efficient model. And we just hope that all of those things that keep coming just are still led by more collectors. And this first domino is like the ultimate collector. So that's a good start. And hopefully that continues to be the trend, right?
Totally. And that goes back to Genomic Sports Cards question of like, is this going to spark off a chain reaction of really elite tier investors coming in and acquiring, the various business entities that the hobby consists of? And that's everything from Panini, all the way down to hypothetically breakers and card
Yep.
shops. I mean, could we see somebody come in and create a uniform card shop? Not to trivialize the idea or make fun of it too much or say something silly, but could we ever see like the McDonald's of card shops where there's just a license and a franchise, and that people then license that franchise and open them across the country, and then we have this more uniform system of card shops? We have a very, very organic, grassroots, self-sustaining model right now, and the many great card shop owners with all their different businesses, and whether they're online or they're brick and mortar, they've all sustained and built this up totally themselves. It is just off the strength and the love of sports cards, and it's an amazing industry. So, getting back to his question of like, will we start seeing more acquisitions and more stuff being bought up? It's really hard to speculate on that. And it's also even harder to speculate on whether that would be a good thing or not.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on that topic.
No, it's just what I said. Like, I would root for, people like Nat to continue to be the leaders of some of these purchases, and like making sure that the at least like the figureheads of these investment firms that are coming in and gobbling up companies, if that's what's going to happen, and hopefully like the figurehead of those is some sort of collector, or at least having those people approach the real collectors and like, what do you guys want to see in terms of us leading this new company, and what sort of investments do we need to make? How do we do this? And I do feel like there's a lot of that because, I've been approached by a lot of folks of like, hey, if I want to get more serious about investing, where do I start? So like, there's at least like some olive branches out there where they're grabbing onto and hopefully like making the right decision for the hobby in terms of the collectors. And we have to hope, I guess, right? Like the biggest domino has fallen, and the most important one is led by Nat. So like I said, it's a good start.
Yeah, it is. And you sparked a thought there in me. You said you had a topic that has been weighing on you a little bit lately, and you had something you wanted to get off your chest on that topic. And we just kind of now are veering into talking about how to get started with buying cards and buying intelligently. And I don't know. Do you want to take the baton from there?
Let me crack number 2.
Everybody
so
get ready.
We're done with the PSA thing.
Okay, let's see here. When Exquisite Collector speaks up, I'm going to quote it. I love to see him in the chat. He says, if there's any collector I'd want to be involved with PSA, it's Nat. There are too many others involved in the hobby, and that may not be a good choice. I believe Nat's heart is in the right place. I just feel like that sums it up really nicely.
See Grant's.
Yeah, Grant is just on fire tonight. I'm trying not to get distracted by all of his comments.
He said, Nat better be in there grading cards 50 hours a week with 20-minute lunch breaks.
There's something to be said for that, though. There really is. Like, wouldn't you remember they used to have that show, like when the CEO is the janitor for a day or something?
Undercover Boss.
Undercover Boss.
Yeah, something like that.
I think somebody should talk to Nat about documenting him working as a grader for a day. I would do it. I would work as a grader for a day, and I bet if everybody in the hobby did something like that, we would gain a lot of perspective on that whole process.
Can you imagine like a regular collector giving a wrongful 10, and having like the QA or quality person that's at PSA being like, what the hell, man? Like getting yelled at him, like, what the hell? You gave him a 10? This is a 10? Look at this thing. It's like, what are you trying to do? Ruin the hobby and give everyone 10s? Like, what are you doing? And it's like, no, I just thought like, oh, so you just thought like we just hand out 10s here. Is that what you thought? Like, it would be so funny.
My response to that would be, I've seen some of your fucking 10s, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let mine pass. Thanks.
See, that's the thing too. God, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too much. I just want to say that's one concern. Brian Gray pointed this out in his interview with Jeremy on Sports Cards Live this week. When you have machines grading, when you have artificial intelligence grading, you might get a situation where there's like very, very few 10s suddenly. You might have that. Or you might have a situation where a lot of stuff that currently are PSA 10s would definitely not be PSA 10s if an objective machine graded them. And so it could get really tricky really fast if the machine standard clearly becomes different than the allowances that human graders once made. And then, all of a sudden you got a lot of cards that might lose value because they're 10s, but they're really not, and the machine wouldn't give them 10s. Whereas with humans, there's always that subjectivity level. You can look at a card and you can say, okay, this probably shouldn't be a PSA 10, but we make that allowance because it's humans grading these, and we're still going to treat it as a 10. Whereas there's no room for error with the machine. The machine's going to be objective and cut and dry.
Yeah, I like to stay in the middle of this and just, like I can't control 10s and 9s, and so just sort of let it go. Just realize you can't control it and take a deep breath.
Yeah, Summertime Card says I went 0 for 37 one day and then 90% the next day. I'm talking about gem rate. The machines are better than what they got. Yeah, you might be right. You definitely might be right about that. There's a lot to recommend the machines. I just like to take the devil's advocate position on that.
Nat will be in the trenches grading himself. He told me that. So take that for fact.
Oh God, I would love to do that. I would love to take a day, sit in that dark room, get a pile of 500 cards placed on my desk at 8 in the morning, and say, "See you in 8 or 10 hours," and here get to work, grade these.
Sounds ridiculously similar to what you do at Card Ladder. Sit in this basement dark room and take 8 to 10 hours and take this pile of digital cards and fucking add them.
Suddenly I have so much more respect for these graders. I don't know why.
You get criticized for everyone you add and don't add anyways, so.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
No, I get criticized for everyone I add. Thank you.
We're working on that. We're working on it.
They're always mine.
Well, it's only because those cheaper ones have just popped up on the top, and we gotta make some adjustments.
Which we are.
It's my rookie classes that I'm working my way through.
Yeah.
How dare you add new product? Everyone wants new product, and then we add new product, and people get mad. Come on.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It's funny when you put it that way because I love what I do, and if you're a grader and you love what you do, then I can see it being a joy. But if you don't, I don't think anybody could last for too long.
Right. I've tried your job, Chris. I can't do it. You can't do mine. I can't do yours.
I don't have the technical sophistication to even try to do yours, even if I wanted to. So
all right, let's move on.
I'm limited. I'm permanently limited. Let's see here.
Let me do my rant.
Oh, yes. Let's do the rant.
All right. So this week I've been getting asked this question a lot, and I don't want to embarrass anyone or make you feel like if you have asked me this question, I don't want you to feel badly about it. It's a common question. The question I get asked the most is like, I really like this card, and whatever the card is or the player, should I buy it or should I wait and buy it later? And it's really like an impossible question for me to answer because you're asking me like to help you with a financial decision of like, do I think this card's going to go up in the future to maybe like for you to flip it, or I'm not sure, or is it like a collector item? And the reason I don't want to answer that question is like the value that I provide and that Card Ladder provides to the community, and I sort of posted this in my story, isn't really just like me telling you what's going to go up and what's going to go down and making you money. It's more of like showing you the hobby and showing like all that the hobby has to offer and all the data. So, we built Card Ladder to give you a way to see all the data and have all the tools and automate everything and have the software you need to make your own decision. Because like the reality is like I can't predict the future, Chris can't predict the future, Card Ladder can't predict the future. All we can do is sort of give you all the facts, give you all the data, help you make the right choice. And in the only advice I do give in those situations is like, do you like the card and do you think that you won't have another opportunity to buy it? If so, you should buy it, right? Like it sounds like it's for you, but if you come to me saying like, should I buy 10 PSA 10 Lonzo Ball base cards? I'm really not gonna like engage. It's just like it's not a topic that we're here to discuss. Like we're not gonna sit and pump and dump top 5 cards, and we're not gonna get involved in, hey, buy all these Trae Young cards, and then in 2 months you'll be rich like I am. Like that's just not something that's sustainable in the hobby, and it's not something we want to be a part of. So, like try to approach it from the perspective of, buying what you enjoy, learning as much as you can about the hobby, getting into it and being more engaged with it, and then you'll figure it out on your own, right? Like you'll start to realize what is important in the hobby and what isn't, and what are good buys and what's not. And you'll be able to build a collection for yourself, and you'll also be able to like flip and make money and kind of do both or whatever you want to do with it. Just this whole like following what someone else is going to do just isn't sustainable. It's not like a model that you want to go after for yourself. So like kind of a rant, kind of a helpful tip, and hopefully nudging people towards, what you and I have been preaching for a long time.
Well said, my friend. I don't think there's probably anybody in the hobby who gets asked that question more than you, and you deserve the question because you've built one of the absolutely ideal great PCs starting from nothing just a few years ago.
See, you got straight to why I made the story today. Did you see that?
Yes. Yes.
your thought process went to exactly where mine is, where people see maybe what I have, and so my response is like my success story in the hobby is not the collection I've built, and it's not for you to compare yourself, and it's not for me to compare myself to the Nats or the Tims of the world. It's really like your own hobby story is how you're involved in the community and how you've affected others around you. And Stacking Slabs, Brett have talked about this a lot lately, and I really enjoy that content because it really isn't about like the individual cards you've amassed. It's more about like who you've met and like the relationships you've built in the hobby, and how you've helped someone else. And it's not about like your individual existence in the hobby. It's about the hobby as a whole. So I'm glad you kind of like naturally got to the same place I did.
Yes. Yeah. It's just, you're never going to be able to help it. And it's going to be a part of it's going to be some segment of this community, of any community, is going to be people going up to the people who have absolutely killed it and asking them, for shortcuts, basically. How can I get to where you are without being you and without doing what you did? That's like the lowest common denominator of it. Other people are going to genuinely want to know, what did you do? What's your mindset? What lessons can you give to me? And those people probably show more potential. But I'm glad you said that. And I think you probably spoke for a few other bigger names in the hobby too, who might get that question from time to time. And it's just sage advice. Now I have two comments in this topic. Like the first one, like I think about the question, why do people like to join groups or receive investment advice? Is like almost as if they are a flock and they're looking to a shepherd. And why do they want that figure to tell them what to buy? And I think the theory behind it is that if they're in a group, if they're in a buying group, then they're going to get to move first and pick up a bunch of copies of the same card, and then they'll be able to sell it when the ripple effects of this buying spree trickles down to the rest of the hobby. But as a person in the data every day, and I see how many copies of different cards sell every day, very, very rarely do like noteworthy large quantities of cards ever get bought. So if there are these buyers groups out there that are buying things, they're not very big. And so, but even if it does exist, even if this sort of scheme does work, I would think that people will grow weary of it very quickly because it's just not real. There's no real organic enthusiasm behind cards that are spiking in value simply because a group of people decided to start buying them with the intention of dumping them on unsuspecting people who are outside of their little circle a few months later. There's nothing organic or sustainable about that type of a market. And I'm not going to call out any specific cards, but we've definitely seen some cards have graphs that look a little bit manipulated over the last 6 months. Sometimes it's organic, right? Sometimes it's organic. Other times it's not, and it's very hard to tell the difference. But either way, we see these clearly unsustainable spikes, and then they come back down to reality. So I want to just comment on that too. You're never going to really enjoy the hobby, or most normal people are not going to enjoy the hobby if they're part of something that's fake and there's no real passion or collecting. There's no real energy for a card that's just being propped up only to crash a little bit later. Most people don't want to be a part of that. I think most people want to be a part of things that are real and organic, and that people in the community really are feeling and enjoying as collectors. And then the other thing I want to say on the topic of Card Ladder and like what it is, sort of that what the data can do. We definitely started from the perspective of we want to be a source of knowledge, but we've learned recently that the way people are using Card Ladder is they're treating it like it's like this enormous card show or card shop that they go to every day, and they get to see 6,000 cards, and they get and when I'm in a card shop or at a show, when I walk up to a dealer showcase, the first thing I want to know is this price fair? Is it reasonable? The next thing I want to know is, what did it used to sell for? what type of like ride has this card been on? Am I going to pay a fair price for this, or am I buying something at an unsustainable peak? And then if I really like a card, I want to learn about the set that it came from. I want to learn about the other players who are in the set. And then if I'm thinking about getting ready to buy, I want to see if there are other competitively priced items out there. That's literally what a card letter profile does for you. It gives you the all-time sales history. It gives you links to learn about the set, and it gives you an eBay link that lets you compare and see if there's anything cheaper out there that's available. That's kind of the experience that it's become. And there's no pick giving. It's not like that. It's like opening a world of possibility to the user. So there's my own little soapbox moment. Not to shill too hard for our company or anything, but I don't know. Things I've learned over the course of the last few months.
Yeah, the other thing I thought of was like, what's that?
Christina said, "Is it her turn?" I said, "No."
No, go for it.
She
People have been
Do you have
begging.
anything?
No, yeah.
She doesn't have anything.
Wait, I do have one thing. I love my members. All of you are very near and dear to my heart. But before you tell me I missed a sale, can you just verify it's the right card? Thank you, guys. Love you.
It's a fair comment. But we love when people write in and help us complete incomplete data. We absolutely love when people do that. So keep it going.
Yeah.
My only addition to what you were saying was that another thing I thought of, like, why people ask that question is, and I kind of put myself in the shoes of, like, what if I was entering a new market and I knew nothing about, like, what if I was getting into art or some, like Beanie Baby collecting? My first thought would be like, what's like something obvious that I should be looking at or buying, or like who can I ask for? It's like an obvious thing to buy. So it seems like could be a harmless question, but the answer is just like, like the answer to that is just, you're going to have to put more time into it than that yourself. You're going to have to dig in and figure things out on your own and like get really, really involved in it, because the answer a lot of people don't want to hear is that it just takes a lot of time and effort. There's not like a quick answer. There's never just like go ask this one person and you'll have it all figured out. It's like tons and tons of hours. You and I put in 12 hours a day to the hobby for 4 years. Like, eventually we're going to figure it out.
So true. And it is your community point too. In trial and error. I've bought lots of cards I regret buying, and I've bought a lot of cards that I'm so glad I bought and I wouldn't be able to get today even if I wanted to. And like a big part of it was just having the courage to just put myself out there a little bit, make an Instagram account, join Twitter, get on Facebook, get in Facebook groups, chat with people, figure out what people are thinking, try and absorb some of the hobby wisdom that predates me and that has been there for decades and decades, try and learn it myself. If I disagree with something, like voice my opinion and then see if I'm wrong, people will tell me about it, be respectful about it. That's how I met you, is just along this journey, was just having the courage to go out there and just share my views on stuff. And then that's how you come in contact with great collectors and great people, is just putting yourself out there and being a part of the community. There's no substitute for it.
Nope.
There's no substitute for it. Yeah. That's
I'm on
funny, Adam.
I'm on a pin streak tonight.
I love it. Okay. We have had some huge heady topics so far here. Maybe this is such an hour 2 question.
Save it.
All right, I'll save that one.
We got about 10 more minutes.
Okay. I just want to de-escalate from these big topics for a second and do something less serious. Here's a fun one. This is also from Putnam Cards, so I'm going to work in a third comment from him. He says the Mile High Michael Jordan auctions. Okay, so real briefly, there's an auction entity named Mile High. If you search like Mile High auctions, you'll get to them. And they have the most impressive assortment of Michael Jordan cards at auction I've ever seen. There's 6 days left in the auction, and some of the cards that they have 3 of the 4 Michael Jordan PMGs. They have the 98 PMG gold, They have the 97 PMG Championship. They have the 97 PMG Red. Literally the only one missing is the PMG Green. And guess what? That one's at auction right now with Heritage. They have Playmakers Theater. They have Essential Credentials. They have Grand Finale. They have Molten Metal Fusion Titanium out of 40. They literally have like 10 grails. And then they also have like huge inserts. They have Jambalaya, PSA 9. They have Noise Boys, PSA 10. I mean, it's just like an unbelievable, and a lot of the PSA serials are sequential as well. So it's like some unbelievable collection that was like all raw, seemingly got graded, and now it's up for auction.
It got graded probably before the auction started.
Yeah, that's what I would think. I would think somebody with like a crazy collection decided that it was time to sell it, and the auction house said, well, we better grade all these. Looks like they all got, like, look, BAMs, just Intimidation Nation, and it looks like they all just got graded, and now they're at auction. Hot Shots.
This is my favorite way to buy a graded card, knowing that like whoever had these never cared about condition because they just had these cards, and all these cards are so fucking rare and amazing that like they're not gonna get 10s, guys. Like these are not PSA 10 cards, and they shouldn't be. And all of the grades just like are awesome. Like an 8, a 6, looking 4. It's awesome. Oh my god, it's so awesome. Like I don't want BGS 9.5s of these cards, you know? Like I want like PSA 6s that are like, because it's a 6 and it was in a binder for 20 years, and the guy who built this amazing collection of all these Jordans just recently got it graded because he realized he's a millionaire now, and he's ready to cash in. And he's got a bunch of PSA 6s because he like enjoyed these cards. It's so much better, like the provenance and like the kind of quirky auction house. Oh my god, it's so amazing.
Dude, it is amazing. And the sheer volume of cards. There's hundreds of Jordans. Some of the very best Michael Jordan cards are in this auction. The sheer volume means that there's probably going to be a couple that go for lower than market. So it's a decent auction to keep an eye on. I do believe you need to register early to get approved, to be able to bid. So keep that in mind if you are interested in participating in this auction. I'm strongly considering registering. I have my eye on one of those, but damn it, I keep buying Prism football and stuff like that. But
god damn it, Chris. Focus, motherfucker. Jeez, man, I'm about to come over and smack you. People are buying $50,000 RPAs of guys who've never done anything, and these are like the best cards you could possibly get at Michael Jordan.
Dude, they are. And some of those are, I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of those went for cheaper than market, let's say.
Josh, don't let him fool you. He did not buy those Prism boxes.
I
He
know.
has no problem bidding on any of those cards.
The guy just bought a Prism Gold LeBron James card. I know what's going on.
Yeah, I didn't approve that purchase.
I know. And look at these cards, man. This is incredible.
Oh, I love that card, by the way. The LeBron Prism Gold is easily one of my favorites when I'm flipping through the pile.
Nothing would make me more happy than to have a PSA 7 of like a card that nobody else has. Just look at that thing.
Yeah, and the red label really pops with the red jersey. So that's one of those cases where a PSA slab is just, even aesthetically, it's just a perfect match.
These cards like are really condition sensitive, and they're super old, and he clearly graded them all recently, so they're probably in binders or like mags.
Yeah. Yep, that's so true. Yeah.
So like I think people just get excited about BGS 9.5s and PSA 10s of modern cards, but like I get so much more excited about. I'm not reading the comments because I'm just really here. So people agree with me on like just having like rare stuff.
That was an O-line, Adam, but it's close. The Combine, Prism offensive lineman Combine cards. Yeah, and as you go through this auction, so I think you're looking at maybe like the first 20 results or something, but like there's literally hundreds if you shift it to like all or whatever. There's hundreds of Jordans in this auction.
It's all from one guy.
It has to be, I would think, because what are the odds that there would have been like multiple raw collections that the grading company or that the auction house decided to go ahead and get graded? Like I just don't think the odds are that high. My suspicion is that this probably all came from one collection.
Yeah, all the like rare insert type ones are all like 5077. So
Yes.
so cool. I love
Yeah,
that.
it's sweet. It's this has been bubbling among certain Jordan collectors. They're probably going to be pissed that I talked about this, and that we're talking about this. But blame Putnam because he brought it up, and it's just hard to contain the joy here. And you know what? This is why it's worth listening to the crossover, among many other reasons, is because you can find out about stuff like this. Because I'll tell you this, Mile High Auctions was not in my in my vocabulary until very recently. So I don't know how many people know about this site.
When you get these kind of cards through your portfolio, like you got to pay attention.
Yes.
And it's kind of interesting that they chose PSA and not BGS and all this stuff. I don't really want anyone to like look into that comment, but something worthy of bringing up.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Especially because I think most people are aware that BGS is a little bit more lenient on grading these cards. Like these cards would have gotten better numerical grades through BGS.
That's very accurate. But I don't know, man. I feel like the guys who are going to be bidding on these cards are guys like us that are just like, whatever. Like it's PSA slab. That's fine. I want it.
That's how I feel.
Like, what are you going to do? Go get a PSA 9 of this? Good luck.
No, and who cares? Like, for a million reasons. Like, if there is a huge premium, it's not worth it. And if there's not a huge premium, I get why. It's certainly more about the card and the presentation and having it in a holder and just knowing that there's not any overwhelming eye appeal detractions. Like there's not a crease in the card or something like that. And a PSA 6 on that card means that there's probably a little bit of edge wear, maybe a scratch on the backside or something. But otherwise, that card's probably in very presentable condition.
I say it like every week. I just will never understand how people can pay the amount of money for blue ice, red shimmer, PSA 10 rookies as the same price as like these 90s grails of Michael freaking Jordan. I'll never understand it.
Yeah. You're preaching to the choir here, man.
Okay. All right, well, you ready for a break?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
If I had to bid on one of these cards to win, probably I like these ones. I really like the 98, the gold PMGs. These are cool. Look at that sick photo. I like the credentials too.
Dude, that's definitely the one I have my eye on is the 98 PMG, but it's probably already out of my range right now.
It's not though. We've got plenty of stuff to sell to get one. Come on, Broseph.
What's it at? What's it at right now?
40 grand.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's
like a third of one of your Lucas.
Don't say it.
I'm gonna set an adjective. It's fine. It's just a regular card.
Yeah, that's definitely the one that hits me right there in the card collector gut, because God knows when the next time an opportunity is going to come up to get one of those. It's already in a beautiful PSA 6 slab. It just looks great. I don't know.
It's a cereal. 39. All right, let's take a break. Sorry. Let's take a break. I'll see you in a minute.
Sounds good.
The future is here. An innovation that will change the way the industry works. A Hot 100 chart, updated daily. The most accurate price guide on the market. Every card has its own profile with a wealth of information. Know the precise, real-time value of any card in the system. On demand. You now have the power to unlock the secrets of the hobby.